say time is the great equalizer. Warren Buffett once said, it doesn't matter who you are, we all have 24 hours in a day. But the truth is, how you spend those 24 hours is what separates those who dream from those who do. On this episode of Courageously Speaking, the podcast where we hold courageous conversations with people who have made bold decisions that change the course of their lives, and in doing so, challenge the way we think about success, love, and the precious time we've been given.
That you have to have in order to be a professional musician versus being a good musician. You have to, I think, to be honest with you, your playing is maybe only 20-30% of it at the most. I think the rest of it is all your business acumen and how you present yourself and, you know, getting yourself out there doing stuff like this.
And that's why it's called show business. It didn't just say show only.
Yeah.
It's show business.
Yeah.
Without the business, there's no show.
Yeah, the way that we used to say it in Nashville is that it's the music, which is only like this much of it, business.
Wow.
You know, the business is much larger.
Our special guest for today has spent his hours building a career that's as inspiring as it is accomplished. Patrick Worley is an award-winning, multifaceted musician, a performer, a composer, a teacher, and a songwriter. He earned a music scholarship to study classical guitar with no prior formal training on the instrument, and went on to learn from world-class faculty at the Juilliard School, Peabody Conservatory, and Cleveland Institute of Music. Taken him from Nashville music scene, where he spent a decade performing and recording alongside some of the industry's great artists, to stages across the US and around the world, supporting rock, country, and pop acts.
Don't really have bands anymore. You know, it's not like if you go back to classic rock days and you would have maybe Led Zeppelin or the Beatles, that's an actual band. That doesn't really happen anymore. Even the bands that you see now, so a band like, say, One Republic, or I don't know if they do it this way, but like Imagine Dragons, or in country music, maybe like the Zac Brown Band or anybody like that. It's really just the person that writes the songs that has the contract, and everybody else is a hired backing musician.
Degrees in music business, guitar performance, and a master's in music education from the University of Nevada, Las Vegas, where he graduated magna cum laude. He's also served as faculty at both UNLV and Dixie State University. Today, as founder of Music Lessons Las Vegas and lessonslasvegas.com.
If you or someone you know is a professional musician, you'll understand that the time in between jobs can be the hardest, but there is a local business that has your back.
Created by a fellow industry professional, Music Lessons Las Vegas helps musicians build a real business, teaching others, and the company's founder, Patrick Worley, joins us now.
Patrick blends his classical training with the energy of popular music, inspiring students at guitar, piano, bass, banjo, and mandolin, and proving that what you do with your minutes matters more than how many you have. And that's where our story begins. And we hope that you can learn more about your relationship with time with Patrick Worley today. Welcome to Courageously Speaking, Patrick.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, super excited. We've been trying to do this for a while.
Yeah, I'm glad we finally made it happen. You know, I know
Yeah.
you're busy, and I got a few things going on, so you know, no rush. We get it in when we can.
Yeah. Well, Patrick, let's take you back to Nashville.
Okay.
Okay. It's a city of opportunities for aspiring and talented musicians alike. What was it like being in Nashville, and what made you come back?
Yeah, now that I'm out of Nashville, the way that I pitch it is I miss Nashville. It's a good town. I don't miss being a musician there, to be honest with you. I think it's kind of like trying to be an actor in LA. It's difficult. Everybody there is really great, and it's just really hard to get any kind of traction there in what you want to do. Even most people don't know this, but even Jimi Hendrix spent a stint there and left because the competition was too stiff, and that's actually when he moved to Seattle after that. So, you know, that's kind of the tale of the tape and the way it goes in music. So, but I'm happy to give you my personal, you know, background with
Yes.
it, you know, for you yourself and the listeners here.
Yes, we'd love to learn more.
All
about
right,
you.
sure. So just a quick introduction then. So I have really always been a classical musician. Basically, I got into classical guitar about a year after I started playing music. And I really was just completely obsessed with it. That was my sophomore year in high school. Didn't go out very much in high school. I kind of just stayed to keep working on that and put my nose to the grindstone. And what I ended up doing was studying that in college. I went to Middle Tennessee State University, which is right outside of Nashville, Tennessee. And I ended up with 2 undergraduate degrees there. I ended up with a music performance degree, so that's classical guitar, and a music business degree, too. Started out with music business. My folks were helping me out like most people, and as is kind of the way that it goes with that, my folks said, if you just do music, we'll disown you, basically.
Oh my gosh, so it was a compromise.
That's a joke. That's a joke, Mom and Dad, you know. But
Mom and Dad, just
yeah,
in case.
I know,
It's a
yeah.
joke.
But I think that musicians, like that's something like that kind of happens with a lot of them, you know. So our compromise was, you know, I would go study music business, actually. And I started my first year in college just doing that, but I wasn't as passionate about that as I was with guitar. I was still playing all the time and things like that. So that's when I auditioned, and that's actually when I got a part of my schooling funded through a scholarship at Middle Tennessee State. So yeah, it worked out that way. You know what I mean? Sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes schools don't have it available when you go to audition, but they did. And so that helped a lot. So I went through school, got both of those degrees, and during that time, the only thing I played was classical music, just classical guitar. That's it. But due to the proximity of where I was to Nashville, you know, after I finished, and actually a little bit before then, I really started working a lot before I finished my degrees, maybe a year and a half or so before that. I started supporting rock and country artists in Nashville and working in the studios and things like that.
What does supporting mean?
Yeah, as a backing musician. So, and this is just another thing maybe for your viewers, you know, but you don't really have bands anymore. You know, it's not like if you go back to classic rock days and you would have maybe Led Zeppelin or the Beatles, that's an actual band. That doesn't really happen anymore. Even the bands that you see now, so a band like, say, One Republic, or I don't know if they do it this way, but like Imagine Dragons, or in country music, maybe like the Zac Brown Band or anybody like that. It's really just the person that writes the songs that has the contract, and everybody else is a hired backing musician as it.
Wow.
Yeah, it's just, if you don't own the creative interest in what you do, I think we'll probably talk about this.
Is that why, sorry, I had to interject.
Yeah, yeah.
Is that why that a lot of the artists that actually write their own music are the ones who stay longer in the industry, as opposed to the ones that you can be hot right now, right? There are certain artists who are hot right now, or bands, and then they don't write their own music. You don't hear from them after a while.
I would say that's a major contributing factor to it. And the reason for that, just in a quick nutshell, is because if you write your own music, you have money coming in from music publishing. Okay, so you have another income stream that you don't have if you are just an artist that sings other people's songs and other things like that. Those people really bleed money. They're paying for their band, they're paying for their agent, they're paying for their management, they're paying everybody. And so, you know, you get a lot of people that wrote songs for other people, like Chris Stapleton, for example, in country music. Chris Stapleton has maybe 20 or 30 hits that he's written for other people, ranging from like Josh Turner to all kinds of people. And he was able to reinvest that back into his own career.
So it makes sense to, if you can write, that's a good way.
You got to hang on to your music publishing, yeah, for sure. Now, I don't know how it's going to change with like the advent of AI and things like that, but yeah, at least when I was active in Nashville, which is like it's only like 13 years ago now, but when I was active in Nashville, it feels like ages ago now. You know, things move so fast. So, so that's what I mean by a backing musician, though. I don't write my own songs or anything like that. It's not my forte. I'm just a player. You know, I like to play. I like to play a lot of different stuff.
But we need you.
Yeah. Well, they needed me. You know.
Essentially, like I'm a singer. I can play, but I'm not as good as you.
Yeah.
So I would need your support.
Yeah,
if I'm an artist.
Well, yeah, and a lot of the people that supported those artists are classically or jazz trained.
Really?
They just did country music at the time because that's what paid. You know, it's just there's just not a lot of money in the other stuff. You know, there just isn't if you just are trying to make it as a performer with it.
This is so good to know because a lot of our viewers, the name of our is Courageously Speak is under Courage Creatives. A lot of people who are watching our show are creatives. a lot of them wanted to be artists, like musicians and painters and all that. You know, anything in the arts. It's so refreshing to hear kind of like the business side of it, and it feels like it's paying dividends that you took some,
Yeah.
you know, some of those classes in business, because we're hearing from you. It's not just enough to have the passion in music. You got to be strategic about it.
Right. Yeah. You have to. The way that I say is, like, going back to the creative interest thing. I'm not saying you have to do it in writing or anything like that. But if you want to be successful, you have to own something in the music business. If you don't, you're really just a bit player, and you can be fired for anything with
Oh,
that.
so it's kind of like you're an employee.
Yeah,
of
that's
a
exactly
company.
right. Yeah, and actually on that
Oh.
note, a lot of the way that a lot of artists do it is they actually salary their band too. So they don't pay them per show or anything. They might pay them, you know, $60,000 to $80,000 a year just to go play music for them with it.
This is very interesting
Yeah,
to know.
yeah. So that's what I did anyway
Yeah.
for a decade. Back to that. And I think we'll be talking about that stuff because I think it'll be good for the viewership here. You know,
Yeah.
the things. But just to finish up my background with it, that's what I did for 10 years. After doing that, I started to play a bunch of other instruments at that time. Got out of just playing classical music because I saw that you were a lot more valuable the more skills you had and the more instruments you could play. So I started working a lot as what's called a utility man. And so if you ever go to a show and you see somebody switching off between instruments, that's what I did a lot. You know what I mean? I would be like on piano for one song and guitar for another and mandolin for another one and banjo for another one. And
When
stuff
I
like
was
that.
reading your bio, he plays all of these instruments.
Yeah. There's some there's some media out there on my socials that you can see me playing. Like I just recorded a banjo track in Texas actually, and I put the video up for that one too.
That is so
yeah,
cool.
Yeah. So after doing that for 10 years, it's just too difficult. And honestly, like again, I'm a classical musician that was playing other stuff, so I decided to move on with it. And what I ended up doing was auditioning around for graduate school. That was kind of my way out. I was in my late 20s, so it was still a good time to do that. I think it was 29 when I did that. And I auditioned at a bunch of schools. And when I auditioned at UNLV, at the time, the way that the guitar program worked there is that they didn't have a graduate assistantship. They happened to have like an adjunct position there. So it was actually at
so you were
university faculty.
Teaching
as-
assistant.
Correct.
yeah.
Well, that's the way it usually works. Yeah, but this is actually it was actually legitimate adjunct faculty. Like
Wow.
on my student ID, actually on my university ID, it says student/faculty on it
That's
instead of that.
cool.
Because the way that it worked at that time was that they didn't have a graduate assistantship. They kind of had other people that teach the overflow for it. And so I actually fell into that at my audition at UNLV too. And so I taught some people as adjunct faculty at UNLV. And that's really what prompted the move out this way. There were maybe many other things that fell into place, but when I got that, I knew what I could do with that title to build like a private studio and to get my name around and things like that. And to be honest with you, this is the business background. I knew that I could use that much more valuably than like getting a graduate assistantship would be. And so that's what really prompted the move out this way. And to be honest with you, I haven't looked back. Now I have a bunch of students and I play weddings and corporate events here in town in Las Vegas. And I have some other entrepreneurial endeavors, that I do that we're going to be discussing here too.
Yes, I'm just interested to know how did you not really like the passion part of like music, the art, that you would want to go to entrepreneurship, or you are more just inclined to be an entrepreneur?
I think it's more, to be honest with you, for me, I think it's more that I was just committed to doing music for a job. And actually, the way that I've always looked at it is that I've known basically since I picked up a guitar as a freshman in high school when I was almost 15 years old, that I knew I wanted to do music. I didn't exactly know how it was going to work out, but I knew I was committed to doing it and to making a living doing it. And I think through the years and kind of honing it, I found out what I was good at and what I wasn't good at. Like we talked about songwriting and stuff like that. I'm not a writer. It's not my thing. I have a very hard time from the inception point with stuff. I'm much more of a analytical mind versus a creative mind.
That is
on
interesting.
Yeah.
That is very interesting.
That's my
that you're
personal
an-
way that I look at it is just I look at it like I was just so committed to doing music. I was committed to doing whatever it took to do music for a job.
So you just know yourself, so you're very self-aware. It seems like since you were a child, you were self-aware that I better have something to compromise to just in case my parents won't like that I'm just doing music.
Well, I think that was more out of necessity than anything, Maria, to be honest with you. If at the time, because I don't know if anybody really thinks about it when they're that young. At the time, I really wanted to go to a conservatory to study music, and I'm really glad I didn't do that. I know a lot of people at my age now that have finished a doctorate in the past 4 or 5 years that are $200,000 in debt from it, and they're never going to get out of that with it too. There's another skill that you have to have in order to be a professional musician versus being a good musician. You have to I think, to be honest with you, your playing is maybe only 20-30% of it at the most. I think the rest of it is all your business acumen and how you present yourself and getting yourself out there doing stuff like this.
And that's why it's called show business. It didn't just say show only.
Yeah.
It's show business.
Yeah.
Without the business, there's no show.
Yeah, the way that we used to say it in Nashville is that it's the music, which is only like this much of it, business. The
Wow.
business is a much larger component of it. Than the music
Creatives, you
part of
got to listen to this.
Yeah.
That is a lot of business. And that's, I think, sometimes when creatives feel like, I don't want to do this anymore. I have this romantic idea of being an artist, and then now I have to do business. I don't want this anymore. And then they give up on their dream of
Yeah.
being in music.
Well, the best way, I'll go back to Nashville and use an analogy that I did. So I played with a lot of the songwriters in Nashville. I've actually taught several people that have written really big hits before. And I believe it was one of them. It might have been somebody else that I was playing for at the time. I'm not exactly sure who said it, but the way that they put it really drove it home. He said something to this extent. There's a lot of people that say they want to write a hit song when what they mean is they want to have written a hit song. In other words, there's a big difference in putting in all the work to getting yourself to there versus having it done with it. That's the way that I interpret it, is that they want the end result of being like the artist, the romantic idea, without seeing all the other stuff that goes into it, and you got to do a lot of stuff that you don't want to do if you want to be successful with it.
And
you have to
that's
make up your mind
powerful.
about which one you want.
I like that a lot because a lot of us artists, we are so passionate, but when we start doing things maybe repeatedly, I don't want to do that. Why do I have to practice every day? And that's a necessary evil.
Yeah, and
Comes
again,
for
the
me.
practicing. Me being a classical musician, I think the practicing is the easy part. I think a lot of these people
Really?
really like to practice too. They might not like all the stuff that they have to do with the practicing with it, like all the studies and stuff like that they have to do. But then again, that's only 20 or 30% of it, in my opinion. The other stuff is learning marketing. How do you present yourself? Learning like numbers and being able to think about what gets you a instant return versus is it better to wait and to do it this way, being able to do break-even analysis and business plans and things like that for it. That's the stuff that I think gets a lot of creative types, is they don't want to sit there and crunch the numbers and
Unless they hire someone
write a
to do
business
that
plan
for-
or anything
to do
like
that for them.
And then they run into the issue about how do they afford that? That's
Oh, 'cause
another
it's
issue
expensive
because it's
to have.
expensive. Yeah,
Oh.
all that stuff is expensive to do. So in an analogy to what I already said with the Chris Stapleton thing, where he was able to reinvest into himself, I think you need to set up your career where you're able to reinvest back into that and continue to scale yourself and your ideas as if you're a business, because you are the product if you're an
This is
artist.
such an interesting conversation. I think a lot of people, especially creatives, would benefit from this kind of thinking. And there's a mindset shift from just doing the music, pure art.
Yeah.
And then the
Yeah.
part that they have to do business. And that takes a lot of time, right?
It does. It takes a lot of time, and again, it's kind of a grind. And I think, kind of just going back to that, that's I think the music part is the fun part out of everything with it. The other stuff is the hard stuff that you got to do, doing the stuff that you don't really want to do, but you have to weigh out. Do you really want to be a professional artist or a professional musician with it? Because it's going to require you doing a lot of things that aren't a lot of fun in order to attain that goal.
Because that one, I think, is a hobby. Hobby pays you a little. If you want to do it as a profession, that's the one that has an ROI, a return on investment,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
But when you ask for an ROI, you need to invest
Yeah.
on it, your time, money, effort, creativity, everything that sometimes people don't want to do. And I think is really time for me. Like, I am an artist too, but I do it on the side. I feel like there's not enough hours in a day. Warren Buffett said there's only 24 hours in a day. And I want to know, and I'm sure the viewers would like to know, what is your relationship with time? And what can you share with our viewers so that they can learn from it? Because it's a lot of work to be an artist.
Warren Buffett is correct with that, but you can also flip the perspective on that and look at, well, there's only 24 hours in a day. You've got everything that everybody else has with it, too. Everything that everybody else has. Except in extremely rare cases, where you're born one way or you get into an accident or something like that, you can still make it with whatever you've got. Circumstances might dictate that it's harder for you depending on the way that you grew up and where you are financially and things like that. But you can still do it, and there's been plenty of people that have done it regardless of what their past is with it. So the way that I look at that more is, while there are only 24 hours in a day, you have everything that whoever it is that you idolize has, ranging from Warren Buffett to, George Washington, to if you're a religious, person like Jesus Christ, what I mean? It depends on what you do with that time is really what it is.
I think also, maybe to put it into perspective, what is important for you? I think for me, some people maybe prefer that they do more of the things that they love, and some people prefer to do like more work. So it's like it's a constant battle between, do I rest enough? Do I do a lot of my hobbies, or do I work? How do you like reconcile that? Like, how do you have a percentage or maybe tools that you use to do your time management? Do you like 80% work, 10% happiness, or like, all that?
Well, that's a really individualized question. You know what I mean? Like for me, like with some of the other projects that I'm trying to do right now, because I have another business that I'm trying to launch right now. So that's really between teaching a full studio, which for me, by the way, guys, a full studio for me is 100 students. That's 50 hours a week, And
do you have other teachers or just you?
No, that's just me. That's me teaching. I teach at a full studio. I have about 90 right now, but me at capacity is 100 students. So I teach 50 hours a week.
Wow.
And then I do other stuff with music and business about 10 to 20 hours out of the week with it.
That's a lot of work.
It is. So it is. But I know where it's going to pay off once it's done. I know what's on the other side of that. Once you have it all established and once you're able to do it, there's all kinds of freedom and ability to reinvest into yourself as an artist and things like that. And I've already started to do some of that. But like, again, you're asking a really personalized question there. I can just tell you what works for me.
Yes, and I would like to share with them, because perhaps somebody thinks the same way as you do.
Yeah, sure. So, I don't take days off. Okay, so I work every day. 7 days a week.
Monday to
7
Sunday?
days a week. I do something 7 days a week. On Sundays, it's a little bit lighter to kind of keep myself, like in check. It's only like maybe 2 hours of work or so.
Thank you for coming here.
Yeah.
It seems like I took some time from you.
No, actually, this happened to work out great. I have like a span of like 2.5, 3 hours right now, which is like, this is perfect. We can come out here and do it, knock it out. And I'm happy to do it, Maria, of course. Like you said, we've been trying to do it for a while. So I don't take days off. But what I do instead is I recharge about every 2 to 4 months. I just take a break for 1 to 2 weeks and go somewhere and kind of relax with that too. And that actually kind of helps me out with another artistic project that I'm doing, because I have a travel video project that I'm doing right now.
I like it.
Yeah, I kind of go and I shoot some footage, and it has to do with music and playing music that's related to the location. And right now I'm just laying the groundwork for it, but it's going to turn into a bunch of like full travel videos. So my way of doing it is that, I think you need to kind of weigh out on a personal level where you can still be the best and get the most results from your work, but not burn out with it. And that just depends on the person.
But how are you not burning out when you're working 7 days a week? So you were saying like you take some time off, like 2 months, for example, in a year. And is that enough to recharge for you?
I find it is. No, I don't know if I'll be able to do that forever, but I know I'm not going to have to, like here in a few years, once I have these other things established with it. I've built a business for myself before. I know what to do with it. I know it takes time. I know you just keep taking shots and you keep figuring it out until you've got it all the way done. And then, to be honest with you, once you've built a business like that, it kind of starts to run itself. Like me with my clientele for my teaching studio. my name is out there in a lot of ways, but I also have like a bunch of I have a bunch of people that refer me now because my name is out there in a bunch of ways, and I've always tried to do a good job with it.
So I think that it's all about strategy and knowing yourself. The 7 days a week work week, right, may not work for somebody.
Right.
But because if you know yourself, you can tweak it a little bit. Because me, I'm more of a Monday to Saturday.
Sure.
But I take siestas. So I need like at noon, I better watch my drama while eating, and then I go back.
Gotta watch your stories, Maria.
You know, I go. So I really think that there's no one size fits all kind of way to manage your time, but it has to be rooted in your own strengths and weaknesses. Like for me, for example, if I stop for a whole 2 months, my brain will be a little rusty and I might not be as good in what I'm doing.
Sure.
So I can't. However, that Monday to Saturday works with me, and wherein Saturday is the lighter day wherein I can do fun things.
Yeah.
You know, so it doesn't have to look like everyone's to be successful. You got to know yourself.
Yeah, and you got to just keep your eyes on the prize, for lack of a better cliche term. But you need to kind of temper that to your own individual. I think best way to progress. Right.
Yes.
Character.
And I think that it's very interesting when you said that it's going to pay off one day. I really believe that sometimes we just want to be able to relax now, and we're borrowing from our future selves, right? Because if you think of it, if you're strategic, you're more energetic as a younger person. You have more, like I remember when I was in my 20s, I don't have to sleep as much and I'll be okay in the morning. I can't do that anymore, you know? But when you are a little older, maybe in your 50s and 60s and 70s, you would want to relax more. So why don't you help your future self prepare for that kind of lifestyle, and not like, oh, because I think people think that work-life balance is all the variables are the same every stage of your life. It's not the same. Your energy will be less when you're older, but you're going to be wiser. So maybe it's the time wherein you get to write, you got to talk, you know, things like that. So you do more work now so that in the future, you know your limitations, you work on your strengths, which is your wisdom.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, that is one way to look at it too. Personally, just on that too, I actually have a lot of like big goals that I want to do with music, and everything that I'm doing kind of lays into a grander plan with music to kind of help out musicians. I know how to live well as a musician. It's something not many people know how to do. So a lot of what I'm doing now is kind of geared towards giving musicians the opportunity to do that. And another way that I pitch that is it's almost like I'm starting to pivot from teaching music so much into teaching musicians how to be professional musicians with it and coaching
And
them
that's a
with it.
need. We were just talking about it earlier. I wish that more artists know the business side, but they have to go to school for it, or maybe they have to read about it. And if you're so like, I just want to play music, they don't have time. It doesn't mean I'm making excuses. I'm just saying that they kind of know themselves. They just want to play, and maybe if they have support of some sort, that's what most artists need. And I wish that more people do that, and we can't wait for this business.
Yeah, it moves fast.
Can you share the name if it's already available, or?
Yeah, well, so I have 2 projects that I'm really working on right now. I have a lessons website that I've been pushing for a long time. So I built my own studio to 100 people, like I've said before. The big way that I did that is through search engine optimization. So in other words, if you pull out your phone,
SEO.
Yeah, and you look for any kind of combination of music lessons, Las Vegas, if you do that, it's going to be the very first thing that you see. It's going to beat out like Yelp and
It's
stuff
there.
like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's good. See, I got the vouch right there.
I
There
said,
it is.
like, let's see if he's telling the truth.
Yeah.
I tried it last night, this morning.
Yeah.
I see you.
Yeah, it's depending on
It's
what you
true.
put in there, it'll be the very first thing you see. But it ranks for almost everything with it too. So I really launched that right before COVID hit, and that kind of put a damper on it. And then when I went to go relaunch it, there were maybe 6 things that I had to go back and redo on it. So I fully relaunched it in May of last year, and this is middle of August now. So it's been 15 months with that. It's been used about 400 times by the public here.
Wow.
So that's almost once per day that somebody's used it to reach out to like a teacher, musician for lessons with it. So that's only going up with it. so I'm still, that being said, even with that, I'm still turning that into a solvent business right now. And just trying a bunch of different stuff until it does work. So that's laying the groundwork also for a bunch of other ideas that I have to help musicians with. But priority goes into that right now. And then I have an artistic project, like I said, with the travel video project that I'm working on.
So
too.
it seems like what I'm hearing from you is you're very good in prioritizing. You're eliminating certain things that don't serve your goal or purpose. You prioritize, and then you automate. Now you're automating.
Right. Yeah, and yes,
That's
exactly.
a strategy, automating.
Exactly. Like I read a lot of business books like Alex Hormozzi and Jim Rohn and people like that. For your viewers who don't know them, I highly recommend all those books. They say things like they're always looking to constantly fire themselves from the positions that they're doing so that they don't have to do it. Because as your business scales, it's grossing a certain amount. You're not netting that, but the more you gross with it, the more you can, pay to like lock yourself down legally with your copyright stuff and your terms of service and things like that. The more that you can hire people to help you with it, the more that you can hire accounting firms or a marketing team or anything like that.
Social media team for
exactly.
your social media.
As your business scales, and what that allows you to do is again to continue reinvesting into that. So eventually down the road, you've got all this stuff taken care of like you want to, and it just makes profit.
And this is interesting because when you automate and prioritize, it frees up a little bit of your time, right? And then let me ask you, how important is that extra time to actually connect with people? I think that if it's show business, the business part means connection with people. Like, how important is connection in music?
I think it's very important. And to be honest with you, that's something I could probably be a little bit better about with how much I'm kind of isolated in what I do. When I'm teaching, it's just me and a student. And when I'm working on that other stuff, it's it's me sitting behind a computer working on code or working on marketing campaigns or something like that with it. So it's very important, and I know that that's something that I need to get better at, but it's also something that I haven't really, it's hard to find the time to do everything, and that's something that I haven't exactly found the balance on myself. That being said, I'm not negating it or disregarding it. I understand that that's a very valuable thing, and doing stuff like this is not only like good for the business, but it's also healthy. You know what I mean? We've known each other for a long time, so I mean, I'm glad we got on here finally. But like that's something that just we're social people, and to be able to get out and just talk, and just to kind of connect with people. Yeah, it does, and I think it's a big part of like being healthy too. So I do that. I don't do it as much as I can. I don't.
And you hope
however,
to be able to.
Yeah, and I know that it's coming down the road though, and I'm willing to put the time in now to get myself to that point.
I have a strategy.
Okay, what's that?
What my strategy is, I actually put it in my calendar, not because it's a work for me, but I think putting it in my calendar means it's sacred time. It's sacred time to connect with people. It's sacred time to connect with your family. Like I have a husband who you know.
Yes.
I met you through my husband,
yes.
Alan. And I guess he's here in the studio.
I didn't know if we should acknowledge him or not. I don't know how this is working. Hi, Alan.
Hi, Alan. And I have to put in there, and he even jokes around and says to me, "Hey, am I in your calendar? Is that in your calendar now?" And it's not because you're not important. It's just because when you are building something, it takes a lot of energy and a lot of you're almost isolating yourself from the world, and it's hard when you're not an entrepreneur. It's not like that. Or if you're an academic entrepreneur, you know what I'm talking about. You're in the zone. But I believe that if you have a sacred time, and I learned this from the Netflix CEO. The Netflix CEO said I think Tuesday night is sacred time. He eats dinner with his wife, and I think if you do that, for me, it's a Sunday. I will not put anything in it unless I kind of ask permission. Hey, I have this very important thing. Can I trade? Right? Because I think, why are we working, Patrick? We work not just for a future self, but for connection. I can't really be somebody that lives in the mountains by myself. I know myself, and I need somebody. I need people, my family, my friends. If I don't put it in my calendar, I will make sure I will not. No, maybe I was like, oh, I put a meeting and now it's gone. And then I will always do that So what I've done is like put in my calendar, and perhaps one day I don't need to, because like let's say for example I have to water the plants every day. I put that 6 a.m. in the morning every day. Now I even beat my reminder. I already know it becomes a habit.
Yeah.
If you create a habit of being with people, and that's sacred time for you, and you know how important connection is, you won't even need that reminder one day.
Yeah, I like that a lot. Maybe I should. See, I'm learning too, right? Like I can
Yes,
steal that
that's
idea.
That's
Yeah.
what this is about.
Yeah, I can put it into your calendar, and then it becomes a priority, like something else that you do. And I get what you're saying there. If there's certain people where if you see it written down, you're gonna do it with it.
And especially if you're analytical, your brain tells you you better get to, and if you don't use it, maybe none of your friends are available, no one like invited you, then that means, hey, why don't you call your friend? For me, when I'm driving, that's when I call my friends. And I learned that from my husband, Alan. So he calls people when he's driving. So that's a great thing. I am just like doing this, so I might as well talk to someone. And we have Bluetooth already. You don't have to, right? Like,
Right.
And it's not much of a distraction. I also do it like maybe if I can't, like, I feel sad. And I can't do it by myself. I just call a friend or text someone. I don't have to tell them sometimes my problem, but that connection just helps me.
Sure.
You know, and I think for you or for me, for everyone who's a musician, and I think any other jobs, you need connections so that you become more successful inside and outside. When I say inside, it feels good to be connected. You're going to be happier and healthier. Outside means you're not alone. You're a community when you're doing your business. I think it's so sad to be in the top alone. When you do it with people, it makes it more meaningful.
Right. I would completely agree with that.
And did you know it's time to really, I'm going to go full-blown business. That means you're foregoing a job that's like W-2. Right? Like, how did you find that courage to actually build a business?
You mean just to step out and do it?
Yeah.
I think it all comes back to just, again, different strokes for different folks. Different people are going to find a different way to do that. But with me, I was just so committed to doing music that I was willing to do whatever it took. If you go all the way back to when I first started, I don't think I necessarily knew that where I'd find my home would be in coaching and teaching with it. I think that's kind of just something that I discovered that I was good at naturally, and it doesn't feel to me like I'm really working so long as the students practice, which is another part of it. You know, as you're building something, you kind of got to take what comes through the door. But I've been doing this for so long now that like almost all my students practice regularly now.
Really? How do you make them practice? That's very hard.
It kind of happens over time, I find. I think that it's the same way as if you built anything. Like if you were a psychiatrist, you would have to take what came through the door, first of all. And you probably give your clients exercises to do, and most of them wouldn't do it. You know, most people don't, right? Like it's like whenever you impose change upon people, they don't really like it necessarily.
Why? What do you think?
I just think it's easy to get comfortable, you know? I'll just with my business, like I'll just give you an example of that. You know, one of the issues that I'm still trying to work to crack is the way that my lessons website works is people pay a low fee up front versus the way that a traditional music academy works, which is that they get paid by the academy out of what the student gives the academy. Okay, so that's something that I'm still working on to change the way people think with that, because I worked out the math on if I had 100 students and what a place that charged, say, $130 a month would, and kept half of it, which is pretty standard now. Okay, so a student would pay the place $130. They would pay their teacher half of that, $65 for the month for the student with that. Okay, for me, teaching 100 students over a 40-year career, that works out to be over $3 million that I would have lost. Yeah, that number sounds made up. We actually just put a calculator up on the site that shows people this too, because we're just trying different ideas. So we put a calculator up where they can plug in their own numbers and see that.
I love that you are so analytical, because that's something I wouldn't think about.
No, people don't even realize that because it doesn't register. It's the same thing as getting a tax refund check, right? Because if you get a tax refund check, that registers, it feels good.
Yeah.
But it's really a bad deal because all you've done is give the government an interest-free loan on your money. It would be much better just for you to pay exactly what you had and keep your money.
To be as
earlier.
close. If you get a refund, it's like $500. It's
literally
psychologically cool.
Yeah.
You didn't lose much.
It feels good. It feels good. I get that, you know. But like it would literally be the same thing as me just handing you $1,000 and then 6 months down the road saying, keep this for 6 months and then just pay me back with it. You know, why? I know we're friends, so it's a little bit of a different, different relationship there.
Yeah.
It's not the government coming breathing down your neck, but you know, like the point is that it's a you don't get anything out of it, you know, financially with it. So, you know, my way lets people keep all their money with it, you know. So like, I find that that's kind of a difficult thing to kind of break people's way of thinking around it too. But I get a much better way for it. It works for me. It'll work for people if they use it too.
I think as an artist, you have to be brave to be able to evolve.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
If you stay the same way, somebody else can play the guitar and somebody else can sing. It's what changes and growth in you that makes you unique.
Yeah.
And marketable.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, so getting back to the question at hand there, you know, you asked me why when I was full throttle business with it. I think it just kind of evolved out of that. And I just have the right personality type with a business background and the different way of thinking that most musicians don't think. And I've just, you know, set up my lessons business in a way with the mission to help musicians live well.
But how
it's a
can
big
you
problem
get
that they have
there? Like, how can I really think that it's a skill. Even if it's not your personality to be like, oh, I'm businessy. I think it's a necessary skill. How do you get there if you're more of an artist? Because you know a lot of artists. So how do you help them get to that mindset?
Well,
at least start with a mindset.
My way isn't necessarily to change their whole mindset. It's just to make it easy for them to do it. Like, because ultimately, when you're changing the way people think, you kind of have to let them come to it, you know, on their own. You know, now that we've already addressed Alan, I know Alan and I have had some experience with that. You just have to. There's not a lot you can say to people with that. You just kind of have to let them figure it out on their own and continue to lead by example and show them that there's a better way to do it with that too. You know, like you don't, you know, like with me, I have a lot of things that I say to people. It's like, you know, I don't do it for you. I just give you the ways to do it. I'm going to give you the lifeline to
like
to
a
live well.
foundation, an outline.
Yeah. I say, like the big line I've been going with lately, again, because I'm trying a bunch of stuff, is I say, I'll give you the lifeline for this. You got to participate in your own rescue for it. And, you know, I think eventually people, you'll have people that see that and that start to talk about it amongst themselves and amongst the demographic, you know, with it. And the more that people see it, the more that they start to question it. But it doesn't just happen overnight. Sometimes doing something like that takes years to affect change on people.
People get disappointed or frustrated when they read a book or they watch a podcast and they thought they got it and then they forgot it in a day or like in a week, and it doesn't work.
Yeah.
But it has to be constant exposure to these inspirational things and also systems and automation and to change your mindset, right?
Yeah.
And what about like a book? Do you have a book or a philosophy that you abide by?
Yeah. I mean, I guess like they're all kind of summed up around the same thing. I mean, like my whole philosophy, going back to the Warren Buffett thing, you know, the way that I say that is, you've got the same number of minutes in a day as anybody else. It's up to you with what you want to do with it. So I think probably that can be best summed up with a quote from John Steinbeck. When I have time to, I actually read a lot, which has not been the case for a long time now, but I actually read a lot.
You're busy, but he reads a book.
Yeah, I take notes whenever I read and things like that too. And in The Moon is Down, which is a John Steinbeck novel about Nazi invasion and occupation of, I believe, a French town. There's a quote in there when they're talking about, I believe, rebelling, where somebody says to rally the troops something like, I don't have a choice of living or dying. I only have a choice of the way that I do it. And it's an easy choice for me because the end is the same. You know, what do you want to be with it when it's all said and done? You know, do you want to be, you know, I mean, I guess we can get frank here. Do you want to be a bum or do you want to be excellent with it? It's up to you with it.
Can you say that again?
Yeah, I'll say it again. Just you have the same number of minutes in a day everybody else has, you know, and it's all a choice with what you do with it. Coming down to like what you had for breakfast this morning, to what you chose to wear today. Did you work out this morning? You know what I mean? All this stuff comes into play with it, right? You have the same number of minutes in a day as anybody else with it. It is up to you how you invest them.
So basically, we should not make excuses that I only have 24 hours, I only have 1 minute to do this, or 10 minutes because everybody else has. It's just a matter of you choosing, are you going to waste those minutes or are you going to use those minutes to grow, to be able to automate and also get to your goal, right?
Yeah, I mentioned Jim Rohn earlier. If you're not familiar with him, I would, if you're interested in this stuff, I would highly recommend Jim Rohn. Jim Rohn's, I'll steal a quote from him. If you want to do something, you'll find a way, and if you don't, you'll find an excuse.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I like that. And a lot of times it's because we don't feel like doing those things because it takes time. But the time you use now is going to help your future self. So it's an investment. It's totally okay.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. And then in our show, we're coming to a conclusion. So
Okay.
I got a challenge
It
you.
goes by like that, Maria. Yeah.
We're ready for the challenge.
Okay.
So pretend that you can actually go back in time.
Okay.
Ready for this? What is something and or someone you wish you'd made more time for, and how would that have changed your life?
That's a difficult one, Maria, honestly.
I like difficult things.
I know.
I gave you a pass the whole time.
You did.
I was trying not to ask these kinds
I
of
asked for it.
questions.
I was hoping that we'd run out the clock, to be honest with you. Here. So, I mean, there's family members, like, grandparents and things like that I wish I would have made time for. And even coming down to, like, my first dog, to be honest with you. It's weird. When I had to put my first dog down, I found myself apologizing to him for, like, leaving him, like, at home as much as I did, even though it really wasn't that much. It's just weird how you react in a situation like that with it. So there's relationships like that for sure. And I think also, like, with a lot of the stuff that I'm doing now, I wish I would have gotten started earlier, and I wish I would have kind of had the wherewithal with my philosophies to get started when I was even younger with it, because, I mean, it's all going to stop one day. We gotta try to get it done while we're here with it, and the quicker we can get it done, the more time we have for the relationships.
And who are you
things like
doing
that.
this for? Is it for family? Like, all of these goals, is it for you, your future self? Who's this for?
Well, it is for me. I think that people that don't tell you that, you got to be kind of skeptical of.
Yeah, why?
Well, because we do what we want. You know what I mean? So ultimately, even if, like, you have ideas and plans to help out other people, you're probably still doing it for some kind of self-motivation reason, because it makes you feel good or because it makes you money or whatever, And I won't lie about that. With me, it's both of them, with it. But I do have a mission in what I do.
What is your mission?
Which is to help musicians live well. Really, what I want to end up doing is also affecting change in academia, too, because I think there's massive issues both in the music business and in academia with it. And I got some ideas for that, but, I don't want to. I play my cards pretty close to my chest on that. Right now, I just want to get the site and making money on that. But
we're super excited for this.
Yeah.
And I really think that it's time for you to plug some of your projects so we can support you, and tell us how you can support us.
Okay. You just want me to give a description of what my
how do you get to your website?
Okay, yeah, sure. I'll address both projects. So if you want to go check out lessonslasvegas.com, if you want to take lessons with some musicians here, they all teach online, because I know that this goes internationally too, right? So you can visit lessonslasvegas.com. There's about 30 instruments on there. We don't have instructors in all of them yet, but we do have a lot of them, and there are people that have had Grammy nominations that are on there. There's people that have worked with, in the shows with, like, Celine Dion that are on there and things like that too. So if you want to take lessons from some of the best musicians, honestly, in the nation, a lot of them reside here for that reason, because they play in the shows. So you can visit that and check out what you want to do with it, or you can visit me personally at Patrick Worley Music on both Instagram and Facebook, and you can see some of the videos from my upcoming travel project. I filmed a lot of performance videos so far in places, but there's going to be quite a bit coming with that. I would say by the end of next year, I'm working on a lot of stuff right now, and it's a big project. But I would say by the end of next year, the full travel videos will start to drop.
We're very excited, and you got to give us a taste of this.
Sure, I need a little bit of help, honestly, because
Yeah.
I'm learning this music so fast now that I can't quite remember
Yeah.
it all the way. So I'm just gonna have you page turn for me a little bit. Okay.
Oh, sure,
So I'm gonna
sure.
play a little bit of an excerpt actually from an upcoming trip to the Philippines. Actually, believe it or not.
You went to the Philippines.
I went to the Philippines, and I'm going back to
We're in
shoot
Filipino
some more
town,
stuff.
by the way.
Yeah.
We're in Filipino town.
Yeah, right now.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Okay. Cool.
Peach, I'll be
I
right
knew I felt at home here. So, but it requires me to go back to places a lot. I've been to Japan and France and all over the States, and I've opened up the Philippines with it too. So just to give people a little bit of a sample of this, some of the Philippine music that I'm going to be playing here, this is an arrangement by Jose Valdez, who teaches at the University of Manila. He's a Filipino guitarist. And I'll be playing this one probably in front of the Cathedral of Manila when I go there.
Wow, that is beautiful cathedral.
Yeah. This is a little bit of an arrangement of the prayer, the Andrea Bocelli and Celine Dion song too. But I'm going to need you to page turn for me because I don't have it memorized yet.
Okay. Oh.
All right, when I give you a nod, just page turn.
Okay, oh no. I better do it right. Is this good?
Yeah, that's fine. Let me get set here. Okay. you.
Wow.
So keep your eyes on the social media. You can see maybe, at the moment, you can probably see maybe 6 or 7 more videos of full performances in front of like a bunch of places. I went to Japan. I recorded in Nara Park with a bowing deer and stuff like that. So check it out.
Yeah, I can't wait for the Filipino.
Yeah, it's going to be good. Yeah, that'll launch. I'll upload those performance videos. I'm going in January, so they'll be uploaded late January, I would say. With that.
So for our Filipino American and Filipino viewers, check that out. So,
Yeah.
Well, I guess that's the end. I really love the emotions that came with it, and we want to thank you for this opportunity to interview you. Thank you all for joining us on today's episode of the Courageously Speaking podcast, hosted by yours truly, Maria Soriano. A huge thank you to our guest, Patrick Worley, for sharing his courageous journey with us from the vibrant music scene of Nashville to building a meaningful business here in Las Vegas. Through determination and creativity, Patrick has found a way to bring art and business together in a way that's both authentic and sustainable. His story reminds us how to be intentional with our time and that strong connections are key to impactful success. Thank you as well to PHLV Radio, who graciously recorded our podcasts in their studio located here in Filipino town, Las Vegas, Nevada. To our listeners, if this podcast episode resonated with you, don't forget to subscribe to Courageously Speaking with Maria Soriano. Share this episode with someone who could use a dose of inspiration and visit CourageCreators.com for more resources to help you lead with courage and purpose. And remember, courage isn't about the absence of fear, it's about taking action despite it. So, until next time, stay courageous.